A guy brought his car into my shop last month. Rough idle, sluggish throttle response. Felt like the engine was running through mud. He was ready to spend $300 on a new throttle body. I told him to put his wallet away. 20 minutes later, his engine was running like it just rolled off the factory floor. Smoother idle, sharper response, better fuel economy, cost him nothing, $0 in parts. He stood there staring at the engine like I just performed surgery, and the process is stupid simple. Dealerships charge $150 to $300 for this exact service. Takes them 5 minutes. They don't want you knowing how simple it actually is because this is one of the easiest money grabs in the entire automotive industry. But here's what makes this actually valuable. 90% of people who clean their throttle body do it wrong. They damage sensors. They strip gears. They skip one step that causes the engine to run worse than before they started. I've seen a simple cleaning turn into a $3,000 repair because someone didn't know the one rule about electronic throttle bodies. Today, I'm walking you through 8 secrets that most mechanics learn the hard way over decades. The exact $0 technique that makes your engine feel brand new, the mistakes that turn a free fix into a disaster, and the insider diagnostic knowledge that separates pros from part swappers. And wait until you hear secret number 1. There's a scam in the aftermarket right now where people are paying $200 for a modification that does literally nothing. I'll show you exactly how to spot it. By the end of this, you'll know more about your throttle body than most shops charging you $150 an hour. Let's get into it. Secret number 8 is the damage trap with electronic throttle bodies that nobody warns you about. This is where 90% of DIY throttle body cleanings go wrong, and it's the most expensive mistake you can make. Modern cars use electronic throttle control. There's no cable. A small electric motor opens and closes the throttle plate through tiny plastic reduction gears with ratios from 20:1 up to 60:1. Here's the critical part. Those plastic gears are designed for one direction only. The motor pushes them forward. That's it. If you manually force the plate open while that motor is holding it closed, you're loading those gears backwards. Something cracks, something strips, and now you need a new throttle body assembly. That's $800 to $3,000, all because you grabbed the plate with your fingers. One wrong move, and you turned a free cleaning into a mortgage payment. But the damage goes deeper. When you force the plate, you shift the learned zero position in the computer's memory. Now it thinks the plate is closed when it's slightly open. Persistent idle problems, wrong fuel delivery, and diagnostic codes that won't clear no matter how many times you reset them. Here's the safe way that costs you nothing. Have someone sit in the driver's seat. Turn the ignition to on. Do not start the engine. Have them slowly press the gas pedal. The plate opens electronically. Under computer control, no backwards loading, no stripped teeth. Simple. Clean the bore safely. When they release the pedal, the plate closes gently. You just saved yourself $2,000 by knowing this one rule. If you absolutely must move the plate manually, turn the ignition completely off first or disconnect the connector. Move it gently. Never force it past the mechanical stops. And never touch the return spring. It returns the throttle to closed if the motor fails. Removing it eliminates your only protection against a runaway throttle. Secret number 7. This is the actual cleaning procedure, the part you came here for, and I promise you, this is simpler than you think. Now I know what you're thinking. Spray some cleaner, wipe it down, done, right? That's what most YouTube videos show you, and that's why most people have problems afterward. The order matters. The products matter. But the actual work? 15 minutes with a rag and a can of cleaner. You're not rebuilding a transmission here. Before you touch anything, photograph every connector and hose routing. Use your phone. This prevents the most common post-cleaning failure, reconnecting something wrong. Run a quick OBD2 scan and save any stored codes. If something goes wrong, you'll want to know what was already there versus what you caused. If you can remove the throttle body, do it. Full access to the underside of the butterfly plate, the hidden idle air passages, and the bore. You can use stronger solvents safely on the bench. But if removal isn't practical, here's the safe in-vehicle method. Keep the throttle electrically connected. Use the method from Secret 8. Have your assistant press the pedal to open the plate under computer control. Now apply sensor-safe throttle body cleaner to a lint-free cloth. Not directly into the bore. Not sprayed into the intake manifold. On a cloth. Products that Community Experience has validated. CRC Throttle Body and Air Intake Cleaner, Gum Out, STP, WD-40 Specialist. These are safe for mounted assemblies with sensors connected. If you're doing bench cleaning after removal, Berryman B12 Chem Tool works for heavy carbon, but never use B12 on a mounted throttle. Its solvency is too aggressive for sensors. Wipe down the throttle plate front and back. Clean the bore walls. Use a soft nylon brush for stubborn deposits. Here's a detail most people miss. Do not touch the bore with bare hands. Your skin oils create a film that attracts fresh carbon deposits. Sounds crazy, but you'll be cleaning it again within a few hundred miles if you skip this. After cleaning, debris control is non-negotiable. Vacuum everything. Blow with compressed air directed away from sensor faces. Solvent wipe until absolutely no residue remains. Replace all gaskets and O-rings you disturbed. Every single one. They're $2 to $3 each. A crushed gasket that's been compressed for years will not reseal. It creates a vacuum leak worse than the carbon you just cleaned. Allow complete solvent evaporation before reconnecting anything. Residual solvent creates exhaust smoke on first start. It's harmless, but let everything dry fully. Torque fasteners in a cross pattern if the manufacturer specifies one. See? That's the whole thing. 15 minutes, $0. And now your throttle body is cleaner than the day the dealership charged someone $300 for this same job. Secret number 6. This is where most people shoot themselves in the foot. They do the cleaning perfectly and then skip this step, and then they blame the parts. The relearn procedure. I'll be honest, I didn't appreciate how important this was until early in my career when I cleaned a throttle body, started the car, and the idle was hunting like crazy. Worse than before I touched it. I thought I broke something. Turns out I just never told the computer I changed something. After any cleaning, your engine computer needs to relearn where closed is and how much air flows at each throttle position. Skip this step and expect high idle hunting RPMs, surging at cruise. Sound familiar? That's why so many people online say throttle body cleaning made things worse. They just skipped this. Every manufacturer has a specific relearn procedure. Some require the engine to be at a specific temperature. Some require a specific idle duration. Some require a precise pedal sequence. Look up yours. If you have a diagnostic scan tool, use it to command the throttle relearn directly. Watch the computer accept the new baseline. Monitor the closed throttle position values stabilizing. No scan tool? Most vehicles accept a manual relearn. Ignition on without starting. Wait 10 seconds. Start the engine and idle for 5 to 10 minutes without touching anything. Some vehicles need you to cycle the AC and steering during the relearn. Expect weird behavior for the first 20 to 50 miles. High idle, momentary surging. That's normal. Don't panic. The computer is repopulating its fuel tables based on the new clean airflow. Drive normally during this period, mix cruising with gentle acceleration and some idle time. The computer needs that variety to fill in its fuel map. Monitor your fuel trims if you can. Short-term and long-term should both settle within plus or minus 10%. Commanded versus actual throttle position should track within 2%. Still out of range after 50 miles? Something else is wrong. Which brings us to the secret that's going to save you the most money. Real quick, if you're getting value from this so far and this is making sense, hit that like button so YouTube suggests this to other car owners who need it. Takes 1 second and it genuinely helps. Secret number 5. This is possibly the most valuable secret in the entire video, because this one piece of knowledge prevents the most expensive misdiagnosis in throttle body work. 80% of sensor failures are not sensor failures. They're ground faults or connector corrosion. Let that sink in. 80%. Your throttle position sensor needs 3 things to work correctly: a clean 5-volt reference from the computer, a solid ground with less than 0.2 of a volt of drop, and a clean signal wire back to the computer. If that ground has resistance from corrosion, a loose bolt, or a degraded wire, every sensor sharing it reports wrong values. Computer sets codes. You replace the sensor. Codes come back. Replace it again. Codes come back again. I've seen this play out so many times. Guy comes in, already bought 2 TPS sensors, ready to buy a third. I cleaned 1 ground bolt with a wire brush. 30 seconds. Every code cleared. Never came back. Now I know what you're thinking. Multimeters, voltage drops? That sounds like mechanic territory. It's not. If you can touch 2 wires to 2 metal points, you can do this. Here's how you diagnose it in 5 minutes with a basic multimeter. Connect your meter between the sensor ground terminal and the battery negative post. Start the engine, turn on the headlights, AC, and heated seats to load the electrical system. If you see more than 0.2 of a volt, you have resistance in the ground path. That resistance is stealing voltage from every sensor signal on that circuit. Done. That's the whole test. Now here's where it gets worse. When one sensor shorts, it can crash the entire 5-volt reference rail. Every sensor on that rail simultaneously reports garbage. TPS, APP, MAP, MAF. All throwing codes at once. You think everything is broken? It's not. One shorted component killed the shared power supply. Fix that one and every code disappears. The symptoms that scream ground fault. Multiple unrelated codes appearing together. Failures that come and go. Problems that happen when the engine is hot or when you hit a bump. That's vibration and heat, changing the resistance of a bad connection. And then there's fretting corrosion, the invisible killer. Connector looks perfect, pins are clean, no green crud. But microscopic vibration has created an invisible oxide layer at the contact point. Conducts fine when cold, fails under heat or vibration. Shows up as an intermittent fault that vanishes the moment you test for it. I didn't understand fretting corrosion until a perfect-looking connector cost me an entire afternoon chasing random codes. That one experience changed how I approach every electrical problem. Community data says fretting corrosion accounts for 80% of intermittent sensor failures. 4 out of 5 sensors replaced for intermittent codes were working perfectly. The connector was the problem. The fix takes 30 seconds. Disconnect the connector, reconnect it, disconnect it again, reconnect it again. Do this 5 to 8 times. The mechanical scraping action breaks through the oxide layer and restores electrical contact. That's it. 30 seconds, $0. Then spray with electronic contact cleaner, not WD-40, not carburetor cleaner, dedicated electronic contact cleaner that evaporates clean. And here's the rule about dielectric grease that everyone gets wrong. It goes on the rubber seals of the connector to keep moisture out, not on the metal pins. Dielectric grease is an insulator. Putting it on the contacts creates the exact problem you're trying to fix. Secret number 4. Now we play detective. Before you replace anything, before you even suspect the throttle body, check these systems first, because any one of them creates symptoms that look identical to a bad throttle body. And I see people skip this step every single day. A fouled idle air control valve. This is the number one misdiagnosis in throttle bodywork. The IAC controls bypass airflow around the closed throttle plate. When it gums up with carbon, idle hunts. RPM surges up and down. The engine stalls, it stops. Looks exactly like a dirty throttle body. But cleaning the throttle body doesn't fix it because the restriction is in the IAC bore, not the throttle bore. Pull the IAC valve. Inspect the pinion and seat for carbon buildup. Clean it or test it by substituting a known good unit temporarily. If idle behavior normalizes, you just found your problem without spending a cent on a new throttle body. A stuck open EGR valve. When the EGR sticks partially open, exhaust gas dilutes your intake charge at idle. Rough idle, hesitation, strong fuel smell. The computer can't directly measure exhaust gas flow, so it doesn't always set a code. Wide open EGR valve with 0 codes and symptoms that perfectly mimic throttle body contamination. No warnings. Nothing on the dash. Remove the EGR valve. Check that it moves freely. Inspect for carbon preventing full closure. Command the EGR open with a scan tool at idle. Engine gets rougher, valve was working. Nothing changes, it was already stuck open. An EVAP purge solenoid stuck open. This dumps fuel vapor from the charcoal canister straight into your intake at idle, creates rich operation, rough idle, and potential stalling that mimics a contaminated throttle body. Check purge valve duty cycle with a scan tool. It should be 0 or near 0 at idle. If it's commanding purge during idle, the solenoid is stuck or the computer is confused. A clogged PCV valve. This is the root cause of recurring throttle body contamination. When the PCV sticks, excessive oil vapor coats your throttle body, MAF sensor, and intake ports. You clean the throttle body, 3 months later, caked with carbon again, because you treated the symptom and ignored the source. Check PCV hoses are connected. Shake the valve, should rattle freely. This $3 valve is the reason you're cleaning your throttle body every 6 months. A clogged catalytic converter. High back pressure chokes the engine from the other end. Reduced power, rough idle, difficulty accelerating. Back pressure exceeding 3 to 5 psi at 2500 RPM under load means significant restriction. I know that's a lot to check, but here's the principle. The throttle body is never the first thing to check. It's the last. Start with these 5 systems. Most of the time, one of them is your answer. Secret number 3 is finding the leaks you can't see. You cleaned the throttle body, replaced the gaskets, ran the relearn, and you still have a rough, idle, or a lean fuel trim code. Before you start throwing more parts at it, stop. You probably have a vacuum leak somewhere in the intake tract, and most of them are invisible. The gold standard for leak detection is non-flammable automotive smoke testing. You pump smoke into the intake system and watch where it escapes. Gasket faces, hose joints, throttle body shaft seals, cracked vacuum lines. Smoke makes them all visible instantly. If you don't have a smoke machine, there are free alternatives. Spray soapy water around suspect joints while the engine idles. Watch for bubbles. Not perfect on every engine, but it catches the obvious ones. Better method? Watch fuel trims on your scan tool while you spray. If you spray around a joint and fuel trims suddenly shift, you found your leak. That moment when the numbers jump on screen, that's your answer. No guessing. Just data. Here's what you never use. Starting fluid. Carburetor cleaner. Anything flammable near a running engine, one spark, one hot exhaust manifold, and you have a fire. I don't care what your buddy's YouTube video says. No flammable leak detection methods. Ever. Not worth it. After fixing leaks, recheck fuel trims. Both should return to within plus or minus 5% at idle. If they don't, you have another leak or a different problem. Secret number 2 is the Fastener protocol that prevents catastrophic engine destruction. And I'm not exaggerating. If you're doing a deep cleaning or any modification that involves removing the butterfly plate, this information is non-negotiable. The throttle plate is held to the shaft with 2 tiny screws. Factory throttle bodies stake these screws. They're peened over so they can't back out. If you remove those screws for any reason and reinstall them without proper retention, one will eventually vibrate loose. It gets sucked into the engine, past the intake valve, into the combustion chamber. That screw destroys a piston, scores a cylinder wall, bends a valve, Gone. Complete engine destruction from a screw smaller than your fingernail. This is not theoretical. This is a documented failure mode. Here's the protocol. Replace factory stakes with properly countersunk machine screws. The heads must sit flush with or slightly below the butterfly surface. No protrusion into the airflow path. Apply Loctite 271 Red, specifically red. This is a high-strength permanent thread locker rated for the vibration and thermal cycling inside an intake tract. Not blue, not purple. Red. Apply to clean, degreased threads. Finger tight plus 1/8 turn. Allow 24 hours cure time before reinstalling. After reassembly, deburr every cut edge. No metallic burrs or sharp edges anywhere. Cycle the butterfly through its full range. Confirm free movement without binding. And secret number 1. This is the one I've been wanting to tell you about. The ported throttle body scam the aftermarket doesn't want you knowing. A lot of shops and eBay sellers offer ported throttle bodies for $200 or more. They show you a beautifully polished entrance. It looks fast, it looks professional, and it looks like it does absolutely nothing, because it doesn't. Here's what they actually did. Reshaped the external bell mouth, polished the entrance, maybe smoothed some casting marks. The internal bore diameter, same. The butterfly valve, same size. The airflow, identical to stock. You paid $200 for a polished job. I've seen shinier throttle bodies on junkyard cars. A real performance throttle body has a true bore increase. Larger diameter, bigger butterfly, measurably higher airflow on a flow bench. No flow bench numbers? You're paying for cosmetics. Walk away. And here's the follow-up scam. You buy a legitimately larger throttle body, but your manifold has a smaller opening, so you need an adapter plate. If that adapter plate has the smaller original bore, the adapter becomes your new restriction. You moved the bottleneck 2 inches. You gained nothing. If you're using an adapter, the internal passage must be bored to match the full throttle body diameter. Otherwise, you spend $300 to accomplish zero. But here's the real question most people never ask. Before you spend anything, measure the pressure drop across your stock throttle body at wide open throttle. If it's less than 2 to 3 psi, the throttle body is not your restriction. Done. Save your money. The bottleneck is somewhere else entirely. Now here's how all of this fits together. If your engine is running rough, idling weird, or feeling sluggish, don't start buying parts. Start with the free stuff. Check the real culprits first. IAC, EGR, EVAP, purge, PCV. Any of these create symptoms identical to a bad throttle body, and most can be diagnosed and cleaned for free. Then clean the throttle body the safe way. Keep it connected. Use the pedal to open the plate electronically. Censor safe products on a cloth. Replace your gaskets. Then run the relearn, every time, no exceptions. Give it 20 to 50 miles of mixed driving to fully adapt. If symptoms persist, check your electrical. Voltage drop test on the grounds. Disconnect and reconnect connectors 5 to 8 times for fretting corrosion. Check the 5-volt reference rail. Still not right? Look for hidden vacuum leaks. Smoke test if you can. Soapy water and fuel trim monitoring if you can't. Most throttle problems are solved by cleaning and relearning. $0. Some need electrical diagnosis. Still $0. Very few need a professional. Now here's the thing. Everything we just covered fixes the air side, but your engine needs 2 things to run: air and fuel. If your fuel injectors are compromised, you'll get the exact same symptoms. Rough idle, sluggish acceleration, poor fuel economy. You'll do everything we just covered and the engine still won't feel right. Because the problem was never on the air side. It was on the fuel side the entire time. There's one habit that most drivers do every single day that is silently destroying their fuel injectors, and almost nobody connects it to injector failure until the repair bill shows up. I made a full breakdown of what that habit is and how to stop it before the damage is done. That video is on screen right now. If you got value from this and I just saved you from wasting $300, hit that like button, drop a comment telling me what symptoms your car is showing. I read every single one and I'll tell you exactly where to start.